Only
Welcome once again to the first of this week's property podcast. Don't need to remind you, I'm certain you know, this is Property Matters, where we talk about all things that matter in property. We often bring on experts. Today's expert is Rowan Waller of the Professional Pen, previously the Property Pen. But he is a man who can put in words what the rest of us only think. Hamish McClay, of course, of Search Convey, currently chairman of the Association of Independent Personal Search Agents, and an interested party, helped me set up these podcasts, nearly 2 years ago. And they've grown from strength to strength. We talk about topics that hopefully affect you, especially if you're concerned with the property profession. Today's topic is a topic that I think will make a lot of people's eyebrows skyrocket. The high price of overpricing. But Hamish has promised a few more nuggets along the way. Hamish, as ever.
No. Oh, had I? Well, it was interesting. I used to really look forward to Tuesdays. It's not that I don't look forward to Tuesdays any longer. They were added. There was something added to Tuesday mornings. And it was always Rowan out and about, taking a stroll, telling us about the state of the property market. This, of course, is when he used to sort of run his own estate agency. So Rowan comes to us with an awful lot of experience, and he now actually supports other estate agents sort of out there in terms of the work that he does now. And one of the challenges which has always been there, of course, is the high price of overpricing. Now, I begin to understand an awful lot more about estate agency over the time period. And one of those particular aspects is that estate agents don't sell every property that's on their books. They're fortunate if they're selling over 50%. So they've got a lot of work. They put twice as much work into achieve that particular sort of end. I don't know if there's too many people who have their hands on that same property. I don't know how that works these days. I'm sure Rowan can explain to us. But one of the challenges is when we have a situation at the moment, and I believe we could be in, Rowan again will straighten us out here. I believe it's more of a buyer's market. So as a consequence of which there's little point in putting your price too high because you're not going to attract, if you particularly want to sell your property, you're not going to attract necessarily quite as many people. It's not as simple as that, and I'm sure Rowan will explain all, but it can have a negative effect if you put that price of your property on far too high. But Rowan will explain all about it, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Right, welcome to the show as ever. It's as we were saying in the green room, it's been far too long. Glad to see you back.
Pleasure to be here. Sorry about the surroundings. It's school holidays, which means my kids are off school, and I've been shoved off to my daughter's bedroom because they've commandeered my
I was admiring the fine quality of the fine finishing quality of that ceiling, actually. But anyway, what I was going to say, I mean, I feel sad that you're no longer strolling around out in the grounds as you were, but now are constrained within four walls like the rest of us. But as Hamish said, pricing is critical, especially in this current market. Would you not say?
Yeah, I mean, Hamish he said a couple of things that you can pick up on there. Firstly, he talks about. Well, no, I think it was you in your introduction talks about only around half of properties sell. You're lucky if you sell more than half, and that's an accurate figure. So that's a figure from Zoopla. So Zoopla's now looked, and this is what we now have. So I think estate agents have already sort of known these things anecdotally, but we've now got a lot more data. When I say we in the property industry, I'm not now an estate agent, but I was for 20 years. So I kind of understand it and lived it and walked in their shoes and everything else. So I think it's only 44% of homes So 44% of homes never sold in the last 3 years. So 56% of homes actually achieved the sale that went on the market in the last 3 years, and that's according to Zoopla. And Hamish, you touched on something else about whether it's a buyer's market and what's the chances of actually getting the sale as an agent, and whether it means there's more agents that are on board. It's only it's less than 6%, 5.8% of properties sold in multiple agency situations. So so in this country, we have a very, very small percentage of properties that actually go through multiple agencies. So it is down to sole agency, and actually remarkably, there isn't as much chopping about between estate agents as people assume. And one of the kind of the big recommendations you see kind of gurus who aren't estate agents trying to tell estate agents to do is all this sort of touting and canvassing and try and win the business off another estate agent when they can't sell it because of this number of properties that don't sell. But actually it's something extraordinary, like 85% of properties will actually sell with the first sole agent instructed. So most sellers are incredibly loyal to their estate agent, but nevertheless overpricing is a problem, and it is what reduces the number of sales that we have going. It's why this number is only 56% rather than 70%. And actually, when I was an estate agent, we were something like 87% of properties sold. So we had an incredibly high sell-through rate in terms of industry numbers. But it, nevertheless, it shows how important it is, and it's how important it is to get that price right.
Would you say that the reason why homeowners stick with an estate agent and stick through to the grim, bitter death, as it were, is because it's not a commoditized market? It's built on relationships.
It's built on relationships. There's all sorts of reasons. Built on relationships. I think there's an element of pride. If you keep on getting letters telling you've made a mistake, you should come and use us instead. You sort of your heels dig in. You don't want to hear it like that. But there is this opportunity that if you're a clever estate agent, you should be able to sweep up next year. So there's an estate agent out there called Lucy and Michael Joerin. They own Stow Hill Estates, and she had a really good post this week that was talking about the number of properties that come off the market are likely to go back on the market within 12 months. And what estate agents often do is they'll send one letter after they see this property withdraw. They don't get a response, and then they give up. But the letter's probably doing something like, come on the market with us, we'll sell it instead, rather than doing something clever like nurturing this person through a kind of a tough time. They wanted to sell, now they haven't. You can talk to that person in the right way, and then gradually help them understand what they could do next time, and then be the obvious choice. So it doesn't become 85% using the first sole agent. It becomes more like 60% using the first sole agent. So there's all sorts that estate agents can be doing, but they don't necessarily think about it in the right way, because they're always after, and I was as well when I was an estate agent, they're always after the lowest hanging fruit. They're not so much willing to be in it for the long game, which is funny, because when it comes to pricing properties, if you overprice, you are in it for the long game, because it can suddenly, I think that the Financial Times had reported this. So if you get the price right, then you're going to achieve a sale within 28 days. Actually, and I can talk about those stats in a bit as well, because Simon Gates has produced some brilliant stats this week on properties and how well they sell and how quickly when they're priced well. But 28 days is going to be the average sale to achieve a sale if the price is right. If a property needs to be reduced once, it pushes the average time to 100 days. So it's just over 3 months. Wow. And if it takes 2 reductions, it's over 5 months to achieve a sale. So this was in the Financial Times. I'm not sure where they got their data. I just remember reading it, and it's one of these things that's stuck in my head. But yeah, Simon Gates, I don't know if you've come across his name before, but he provides a lot of insights to the industry, to estate agents individually. And he produced a really good slide this week that had some interesting stats. That if you achieve a sale in 7 days, it's probably too quick, because you actually only achieve something like 94% of your asking price achieved. But if you hit 11 days, then you get 100.4% of asking price achieved. So that's the kind of the sweet spot, is 11 to 30 days of marketing to achieve a sale, which ties in with this Financial Times story about 28 days. Then that's a sweet spot for maximizing value. And if it goes beyond that, after a month, it drops to 98% of asking price achieved. But then from 30 to 150 days on the market, then it's down to something like 91.2%. So on an average home, you're losing £22,000 worth of value, as well as losing 5 months of time if you don't get the price right and you end up having to reduce. So it's some really interesting data that estate agents should take on board, and that sellers should take on board, because if they don't want to be in it for the long haul, they should try and price sensibly first time. And actually, the data shows if you do price it properly, get that sale at 11 days, you sell for over the asking price on average.
It seems to me, though, and I've said this a lot actually recently, we are living in one of the most cynical periods of human history, where building trust is hard to do. And let's face it, estate agency has had a legacy of not necessarily nurturing said trust. Is it hard for an estate agent to justify having people carrying on with them, even though they're past the point when they should have sold?
Yes, I think it is hard. Sometimes they don't have to justify it, because a lot of estate agents still have long contracts. So we had a 2-week notice period, and that was it. We had no contract, but that was rare. That was rare in estate agency. It's becoming more common that there are no notice periods. There's no tie-in periods, but there are maybe notice periods of 2 to 4 weeks. But there are still plenty of estate agents out there, and especially the bigger kind of well-known high street brands, the national brands, that have maybe 26-week sole agency agreements. So that is half a year. That's 6 months that a seller is effectively stuck with you. So you don't have to do much justifying if you've got one of those contracts. The seller just has no choice. They have to put up with it, or shut up, I guess. Well, so yeah. So they're kind of stuck, and that's why when people go on the market, they need to do a lot more thinking, a lot more questioning, rather than just be focused on what's the price that you're going to sell it for and what's the fee you're going to charge. Because an estate agent will rarely tell them what price they're going to sell it for. They'll be talking about what price they'll list it for, and the fee. I mean, there's different agents talk about different fees. But I suppose one of the problems that an estate agent has is a real problem. It's a problem with our system, not necessarily the industry, is that estate agents only get the benefit if they get the instruction. They're not paid to go and do these valuations that people are inviting them out for. So they've got to get this instruction on to get any benefit. They've got a chance that even if they've got a 50% chance of selling it, they've got a 50% chance rather than 0% chance of selling a non-instruction, right? So the temptation for an estate agent to value a little bit higher, because they're kind of wheedling out of this seller what they've heard before. And they're saying, well, look, if I can get you an extra £10,000, then it's worth the extra £500 fee that I'm going to be trying to charge you at the extra 0.25% or whatever it is. Or even if they're offering the same fee. If the seller's saying, well, there's nothing to really choose between you and you're both saying the same price, and there's an estate agent go, well, actually, I think we can get an extra £10,000. I really think we should put it on, or an extra £25,000. I mean, it gets mad. Then I think an estate agent would typically try and keep that within the realms of reason, because they still probably want a sale out of it. But there's a lot of me that doubts that with every estate agent. And I don't want to cast any aspersions on any particular estate agents, but when you've got some skin in the game, like I had to sell, if I didn't sell a property when I had a business, then we couldn't get paid, right? I wouldn't be able to pay the staff. I wouldn't be able to pay the lease. I wouldn't be able to do pay right move. But when you are an employed estate agent, and okay, you might have some commission riding on it, but you're still going to take your £3,000 a month basic salary or whatever it is, then really you don't have a huge amount of incentive to make sure you get the price right. Your incentive is on making sure you get the statistic on your books that week, so you don't get an absolute telling off on Monday morning when you're on the conference call with head office. So I think there are some inherent problems built into the system, into some agent systems, that make it a bigger, wider problem through the whole of the industry. That means that, because there is no accountability for estate agents in terms of valuation and getting it right, until there is that sort of accountability, I don't know what the solution is, apart from trying to educate sellers to do their own research, make sure that they really understand what a property should be on the market for. Because some sellers really don't want to, they just don't want to. They don't want to hear the truth. They want to be flattered.
Hamish, do you think that people want to hear the truth?
It varies. It depends what the truth is. It's there's an awful lot in what sort of Rowan says there, and atypically, of course, somebody would prefer to be told that their property is valued at sort of 375, but in truth, it should be 350. I think what we're trying to sort of speak about here is a matter of education. We're not always going to get it right, but what we do try and do, certainly with our podcasts anyway, is to create a level of education. And what we need to be doing, I feel, is helping Mr. Public out there to actually sort of make a well, not so much a logical decision, but it's the decision based on reality. There are lots.
An informed decision.
There you go.
Yes. I was
you,
going
Rowan.
to say that. And there are what it is, and Rowan pointed his finger at this as well, and we've all intimated it today. There is so much available data that we can actually sort of look at. It won't give you the final answer, but it gives you almost a sort of judgment call about what it's likely to be. And it's a matter of looking around. But the thing is, it depends on the relationship you can have. And we've always spoken about this. If you are able to develop a relationship, if it's somebody you know, it's been a referral, somebody says, oh, that's a great estate agent, he can actually sort of help you. Basically, from that particular, somebody you can actually sort of trust. And more importantly, I think, and we're finding this, and it doesn't matter if it's an estate agent, it doesn't matter if it's a solicitor, it doesn't matter if it's a mortgage provider, that mortgage broker. It's somebody who takes the time to find out what you truly want to do. And through that discussion, you will come out with the right sort of type of conclusion. And of course, you're not always going to get it bang on, but it's by that discussion, and rather than actually trying to set it up on your own and say, "What? I saw this property down the road. It went for 400 grand, so I'm going to charge 425." Well, it doesn't work like that, because that could have been 2 years ago, at a particular sort of time when it was much more viable at that particular sort of price. Plus the fact they may have a few extras which your property doesn't have. You don't necessarily know that. So try and find out as much information as you possibly can, but develop a relationship with the estate agent.
I think we're all agreed. It's relationships help make sure that you're getting the right advice, because you're surrounding yourself with the right people, the best people. If you just go for people who are offering you the cheapest or the most expensive, it turns into a Dutch auction, and you end up just a race to the bottom. I think being informed, talk to people who are going to not fill your ears with bull dust, but instead give you the information you actually need. Thank you so much, Hamish, for those large sage words. Rowan, thank you for steering us along this course. And to all you watching, remember that sage words there. Find decent people who aren't going to tell you just what they think you want to hear, but are going to give you the right information to enable you to make the right decision. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and in these troubled times, please do look after your mental health and stay hydrated. Bye-bye now.